Okay. Good evening, everybody. Feel so blessed to be able to be with you another day. To all the viewers, to the people on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, God bless you. I just want to say be encouraged. And I'm Dr. Eurydice Moore, and I will be coming on Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. except for Monday. I'm sorry, I'll be on at 6 p.m. on Monday. And yeah, so Tuesday through Friday, I'll be on at 7, Monday, 6 p.m. And I'm coming to you with a book reading. And I know it's a lot going on. You know, we got the pandemic, people are upset and rightly so. But I'm just here to give you a breather, because the media is drowning us with so much information. The CDC and the news come on like 4 in the morning, then it's back at noon, then back at 4, 5, 9, 10. Then they have like Nightline, and that's 11. So somewhere down the line you need a break. And I know you're trying to stay updated with the latest so you can comply with the law of the land with those that have authority over us. But sometimes you just need a break. You need a breather. So what I'm going to do, um, I believe I'm live, and I'm going to do a reading from this book. This book is entitled Really and Overcome the Odds. And right now we all are looking at a odd. We're looking at the odds, and that's staying alive and making it through this coronavirus situation. And they said there's two strands out here. Two strands. And then one of my Facebook friends had posted something that a science teacher had mentioned, that this virus is really an animal virus that's, being passed from human to human to human. And human beings do not have the immunity to fight it. Whether that's true or false, God only knows. It's just been so much shared. Some probably fake news, some is probably real news. Then I read an article and I heard feedback that people overseas, I won't name the country, start with a C, was over there making wolf soup and bat soup. They eating wolf and bat. So only God knows how all this started. We don't know if it's biological warfare or germ warfare or with the purpose of depopulating the earth and control a new world order is coming for us with the Illuminati and the elite. Whew, just take a deep breath because it's a lot being said. It's a lot out here. So take a deep breath and just consider me as a person that you can get a break. Maybe we can have some laughter together. Who knows? But anyway, this book is entitled Reading and Overcoming the Odds. This was written in 2016. If you want to purchase it, you can get it from Mercure Publishing Company, Amazon, um, Borders, Walmart, local bookstores. You can order it online and have it delivered at your door, whatever case may be. And this story is my autobiography, and I'm just sharing everything is in here. Abandonment, betrayal, adultery, um, everything, suicide tendencies, or so on and so forth. You will not be bored. And also in here, mention born again experience and being connected with God. This book comes in hardback, paperback, and electronic. If you get the paperback, there will be pictures. So for those that might want to, um, this is our fourth book reading on social media. A book reading was done shortly after the release of this book at Center on Addison um, out north. And it had a tremendous turnout. Oh my God. And it was a free book reading, to let people, you know, relax. And that's what we want to do today. Today we want to relax. So what I usually do is read a portion out of the book, and then I kind of summarize it, discuss it. And I am so sorry. I don't know who's on because I don't know how to move this thing up and down, and I don't want to cut myself off. My technician is not with me. Shout out to Rita Nichelle McClendon, the greatest daughter in the world, my favorite daughter, my only daughter. I love you. Okay, here we go. Now, there are going to be 11 book readings. This is the fourth, so there's 7 more to go. And then I will go into a series. I'm doing a series of info commercials throughout the year. And the first series was about 501c3 setting up a nonprofit. The second series will be on grants. So hopefully you'll be able to tune in to that. Okay, so let's begin. One evening, nearing bedtime, Riddy always saw Medea reading a big black book. So Riddy came up with a plan to uncover the mystery of what her grandmother was reading. Once the house was quiet and the queens of the house were snoring, that would be my great grandmother and grandmother, she would put her plan in action. Sid was always asleep from alcohol. That's my maternal step grandfather. The boys had moved with Big Dot and Ern, and all Riddy had to do was to tiptoe, open the kitchen door, quietly click on the kitchen light, sit in Medea's chair, and open up the big black book she read every night. What's in this book? She thought. The plan worked. Riddy was sitting at the kitchen table in Medea's chair. She discovered it was the Bible. The Bible. That's the book for me. That's a book that's a song we used to sing in vacation Bible school. The Bible. Riddy started reading Genesis chapter 1. Then she moved on to reading about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. She read a little about Joseph. Suddenly a noise startled her, and she looked up to find Medea standing in the kitchen. Riddy's heart pounded, and she broke into a cold sweat. Oh, now a whooping was in the making, she knew. Medea smiled and said, "Continue reading a little more and then go to bed." Riddy answered, "Yes, Medea." Riddy swallowed hard, but with relief, because I was supposed to be in bed. Riddy's attention would then turn to a passage of scripture that mentioned how Enoch walked with God, and then was translated, and he did not see death. Riddy then wondered if she could walk with God. She closed the Bible and went to bed. Soon thereafter, one morning, Big Mama announced to Riddy after reading the movie section in the newspaper that they were going down to see the Bible. George C. Scott played the dynamic role of Abraham. Soon thereafter, one morning, Big Mama announced to Riddy after reading the movie section in the newspaper that they were going downtown to see the Bible. I'm sorry, I lost my place. The bus trip downtown was awesome. Tall buildings was everywhere. White people were everywhere. Inside the movie theater, there was so many huge pillars trimmed with gold, cherubim angels painted on the ceiling. The two sat in the middle of the movie theater, not in the back, but not in the front, but yet not in the back. And blacks and whites were scattered throughout the movie theater. 2 weeks later, while Riddy was in her room and quietly sitting on the floor, when she heard a voice call her name. She had been playing with her doll, combing the doll hair. It was a siesta time in the house. Big Mama was in her own room, napping in a chair with her head bowed, her chin touching her chest. Visualize that. Knocked out. Madea was in her bed with her bedroom door partly closed. High-pitched snoring sounds were flowing from the room. Riddy ran into the room, awakening Madea. "Ma'am, you called me?" Madea answered. "I did no such thing." Riddy distinctly heard her name again and returned for a second time with the same accusation. "Ma'am, you called me." "You keep breaking my sleep. What is the matter?" Madea asked. On the third attempt, Riddy held fast to her guns and said, "You did call me. You did call me." "I did not," Madea insisted. Riddy was 8 years of age and knew she heard a voice calling her name. So she just shivered and stared at the door that led to her room. Riddy would not go back into her room. Big Mama could not get Riddy to go back to sleep in that room. She would sleep with Big Mama until she turned 12 and was forced back into the room with the door open. Riddy thought that it was probably the God that Big Mama told her to talk to when she made bad grades, and he is now answering back. She would run past the room to go outside to play because she thought it was weird hearing a voice and no one was there. From time to time, Riddy liked to go outside to play. It, red light, green light, Simon Said, dodgeball, jump rope, Chinese rope, hopscotch. She was not allowed to go past the front of the porch or stay out once the street lights came on. Whenever she was called inside, she would grumble. Then she would hear a voice say, "Do you want a whooping?" We would stop right here, and then we would have our book discussion. Okay. So, what have I just read? I read my grandmother, Madea. She was always reading her Bible, and at the time, she just had an 8th grade education, and this is in the 70s. Back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, you didn't really need a high school diploma. And there are plenty of people, they had good jobs and they didn't have a high school diploma. Well, my dear was from Georgia, right off of Dawson. And she went to school in a little red schoolhouse. And it was segregated during that time. So I would find out years later after she passed that when she graduated from grammar school, 8th grade, that they made her a teacher to teach the ones under her. But she didn't get a high school diploma. Then she came to Chicago and she worked in a factory. And in the factory, she met her husband, which was my step grandfather. My dear was married before. She was married to a guy named Will. And that marriage was not successful. And she came to Chicago with 2 children and one in her belly. Okay. And from what I heard and what's been told, they came to Chicago barefoot. They didn't have no shoes. 'Cause back down south, you didn't need no shoes. They walked around. Shoes was a luxury. And I remember hearing this song, as long as I got shoes to put on my feet, food for my sister and brother to eat, everything will be alright, be alright. Everything gonna be alright. I remember hearing that song, but one day I sat down and I thought about the multitude of those words and I connected and realized that they didn't have shoes because they didn't have the money for shoes. And shoes was a luxury. And I tell you, my eyes filled with tears when I realized the hardship of the people in the South that was born in the South and the thing that they went through. Medea and 2 of her children, they came to Chicago. She fled an abusive marriage, domestic violence. They left so fast. They came with just the clothes on their back and no shoes. So whenever I hear that song, I'll be like almost in tears. Almost in tears. So my dear, she eventually got a high school diploma. She was forced to get one because, I was learning so rapidly. And I remember a conversation she had with my mom. She said, "Child, this girl come home with some homework. I don't even understand it. I gotta take some classes. I gotta get my high school diploma." And then she got injured at the factory, and her right hand from the tip of her finger all the way to here got cut off. She got injured. She lost part of her finger. And she left that job. Then an opportunity came for her to apply to be a crossing guard with the city of Chicago. And she had to take a rigorous exam. And she had to have a high school diploma. And she got hired. And so anyway, that's my dear. Big Mama only had a 3rd grade education. She only had a 3rd grade education, but that was a smart woman. She had a lot of wisdom, and she had God. That was a smart woman. But anyway, back to the story. My dear was very spiritual. When I look back, she faithfully read her Bible every night. At the end of the day, she would pull up a chair at the kitchen table and she would pull out this big black Bible. At one time, all Bibles was black. All Bibles was black, just like all house phones was black. But now you can get the Bible in different colors, different sizes, um, different translations. But back in the day, everybody's Bible was black. Then they started making these big white Bibles. Okay. So I really was curious because it was how can I say this? It was a pattern. Every night before going to bed, she was going to sit at that kitchen table and pull this black book out. So I was wondering, what is in this book? And then she would put her glasses on and she would sit at the kitchen table and read. Then when she got through reading, she would close the Bible, but to me, the big black book, and she would leave it on the table. So I came up with a plan. I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think to ask her what it was. All I had to do was say, my dear, what kind of book is that? What's in there? I don't know why I went through all of that. So after watching her for so long, I came up with a plan that I was going to find out what's in there, what's in that book. So the plan was to wait for everybody in the house to be asleep. And really would stay woke until she hear snore. When they snored, you know they was out like a light. They was in deep, wasn't coming out. And so really would get up and tiptoe to the kitchen, flick the light on, quietly close the kitchen door, sit at the seat, take a deep breath, and open up this book, this big black book. And so really end up going to Genesis and reading about in the beginning was God created the heaven and the earth without form and void. And then she would read a little bit more, then go to Genesis 12 and read about Abraham and Sarah. That seemed kind of interesting, you know. And then she would read how God came to Abraham. Then she would move through the pages and realize that Abraham had a son named Isaac, and then Isaac had a son named Jacob. Then she realized Jacob had all these sons, and she came upon Joseph. And so really would flip back, and I truly believe it was a divine connection. She would flip back, and then voila. She would read about Enoch. And what got really attention was Enoch walked with God and then was translated, and he did not see death. And she would look up to the ceiling because Big Mama told her all about God, that God was in heaven. And if she ever got in trouble or if she ever needed help, all she had to do was look up and talk to God. So really looked up and said, can I walk with God? That was the question. Can I walk with God? And then after that, my dear opened up the door and found Riddy in the kitchen, sitting in her spot, reading the Bible. Now that was prophetic because my dear was a prophetess. Anna White was a prophetess. My family have a long line of prophets. And I'll read even further about my dear. So anyway, that was something. So 2 weeks would pass. Okay, there's a change in the storyline where it talks about how Big Mama's reading the paper and she see the movie and she sees that this movie came out called The Bible. And so she talked to Riddy and let Riddy know that they were going downtown. Now the community that Riddy lived in, Monroe and Kennedy, west side of Chicago, across the street from Marshall High School and Faraday Elementary School. And then right across from 3165 West Monroe, and still is a church, Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. And really, you know, all her world centered around was African American, black people. And the only time she saw white people was when she went to school because her teachers was white. And while she was in elementary, she had one black teacher. And then when she went to upper grade center because she went to Faraday, and Faraday first she went to Marshall kindergarten. Then she had to go across the street to Faraday from grade 2 to 6, and then back across the street. The schools is across the street from each other. Then back across the street to go to grade 6, 7, and 8. And she had only two black teachers. So altogether, during those 8 years from kindergarten to eighth grade, she only had three black teachers. All her teachers was white. And that was the only time she saw white people was when she went to school, or also known as Caucasian. But the neighborhood, it used to be white, and then it became mixed, and then it became all black. So here, and really never been out the neighborhood. So she's like 8 years old. And then Big Mama take her on a bus. Never been on a bus. And so it's so exciting, so exhilarating, so exciting. Never rode a bus before, and she just looking and excited. And Big Mom said, "We're going to the movie," and she don't even know what a movie is. Okay, movie. She just following Big Mama. Then they go down there to the Chicago Theater. I remember it like it was yesterday. And Big Mama buy two tickets and they go inside. They don't sit in the front, but yeah, they don't sit in the back. They sit in the middle. And then there's lots of whites and a few blacks. And she she never seen the inside of a movie theater, and it looks so beautiful, so gorgeous. And then the movie come on, The Bible with George C. Scott, and uh, here she's seeing Abraham. Okay, it opened up with Abraham. No, it opened up with Noah, who built the ark, and then it goes on about Abraham. And so, and just think, 2 weeks before that, she read in the Bible about Abraham. And now she's at the movie, and the Bible done came alive. So I don't know if Muddy said something. I done caught that girl reading the Bible. Or, Big Mom just wanted to go to the show and see the Bible. So anyway, after that, then we what happened really is in her bedroom. She has her own bedroom. It has a twin bed, a TV, a Chester. Uh, it's a small room. It's really a hallway, but they put uh, a big wooden I don't know what they would call it, and it blocked and it created a bedroom. Okay, because the apartment really only had one bedroom, but my folks were so creative in the way that they moved things. They actually had three bedroom when they got through with that first floor. So Riddy has her own bedroom, and she's sitting on the floor combing her doll hair, and then she hear her name, but there's nobody around. She hear her name, and she thinks Madea called her. So she gets up, she go to Madea's room, stand at the threshold, and say, Madea, did you call me? Madea said, no, girl. So Riddy goes back, sit down, and she hear her name again. She gets up and she goes, Madea, did you call me? And she said, girl, you breaking my sleep. No, I didn't call you. Then she go back into the room and she sit down and she hears her name a third time. And she gets up and said, Madea, you called me. And Madea said, child, I didn't call you. And then Riddy said, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You called me. So she's like, get out of here and let me go to sleep. So Riddy slowly walked past the room, and then she run once she get up on it and go outside. And she's 8 years old, and it will be 4 years before she would sleep in that room again. She would sleep with Big Mama. Cause when she told Big Mom about the voice, she wasn't going back in there, and she wouldn't even go. She wouldn't even go in there to get her clothes in order to go to school. Big Mom had to go get the clothes because she was hearing a voice, but there was nobody. And then Mother said, "I didn't call you." So what was happening? What was going on? She had a Samuel experience. A Samuel experience. In the book, we read about the prophet Samuel. And I believe in the book of Samuel, First Samuel, okay, it opened up with Hannah, who is barren, and she praying and asking God for a child. And then she crying and moving her lips, but no sound coming out. She get accused of being drunk. And she tell the priest, oh no, I'm just crying out to God. And then he said, God has granted your petition. Go home. So she go home and she conceive a child named Samuel. And during the prayer, she had promised God, if you give me a child, I give that child right back to you. And God heard her and honored her. And she had Samuel. And then she told the priest that when she had a child, she was going to bring the child to live in the house of the Lord all the days of his life. And sure enough, she winged Samuel, and made him a little coat. He was little, and she took him to the priest to live with Eli. Now Eli's sons was wicked, and Eli would rebuke them, and but he wouldn't chastise them or sit them down. I mean, they were sleeping with women in the temple, and they were married, they were committing adultery, and he would address the issue, but he didn't do anything about it. So God spoke to Eli, and expressed his displeasure and let him know the priesthood would be taken from his family. And then in the meantime, God started talking to Samuel. And God called Samuel name 3 times. The first time he thought Eli called him. Sound familiar? And Eli said, no, I didn't call you. The second time he heard the voice, he thought Eli called him. Eli said, no, I didn't call you. Then Eli got to thinking, oh, it's the Lord talking to him. He said, the next time you hear the voice, say, here I am, Lord. Now see, I had a Samuel experience. Nobody told me that part. So here Samuel goes back, lay back down. The voice comes and he says, here I am, Lord. Speak to your servant. And then the Lord began to speak with him, gave him a prophecy concerning the house of Eli. So here really have a Samuel experience, because 2 years before, she's like, can I walk with God? Now God, 2 weeks later, God is answering. And then in the meantime, she goes and sees the movie, The Bible. Now, she didn't have a Bible. She didn't even have a children's Bible. They came out with children's Bibles later, and from time to time, her folks would take her to Sunday school, and they get these little papers with Bible characters and do some coloring, and then learn a scripture or two, and learn the now lay me down to sleep prayer. So that was all the spirituality that Rita had. Oh Lord, I'm thinking about my daughter. These are the experience that Rita had. So, all right. So Rita asked the question, can she walk with God? And God answers. And scared the daylights out of her, that she would run past that room, and refuse to go back to that room until Big Mom put her foot down and say, look, you are 12 years old and you going into that room. And she said, I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. We'll leave the door on, we'll leave the light on. And when you fall asleep, I will turn the lights off. And then you'll be okay. And I will leave the door open. That was the only way she would get back in that room. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed tonight's reading. And then you all might have a question. Can I walk with God? Yes, you can. He's waiting to walk with you, talk with you, have a fellowship, a relationship with you. Yes, you can walk with God too. And once again, I'm reading from the book, Rita Ann Overcoming the Odds. And it could be purchased from McCurr Publishing Company, Amazon, Borders, Walmart, local bookstores, online stores. It comes in hardback, paperback, ebook. If you get the paperback, there will be pictures. Okay. So I want to thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to figure out how to navigate this system. I'm just not on Facebook. I'm on 2 other social media. And I have to get used to this dashboard. But I am going to figure out how to maneuver. I'm going to do a practice run one day so that I can see comments. Yesterday, people tuned in, Pastor Murphy, Minister Geraldine Jaramello, Bajoya Reed, you all tuned in and you made your comments. But I was not able to respond while I was online because I didn't want to take the chance of clicking the wrong button and then get offline. So that's why I have touched nothing. But I promise you I'm going to practice so that you, I promise to practice so that we can interrelate. We can relate. You can ask questions. I can ask questions. We can have an actual book discussion, you know. So once again, thank you for tuning in. I will be back on tomorrow at 7 p.m. God bless. Godspeed. Take care. Keep your eyes on the Lord. Ask Him for strength day to day. Okay. Some of you are watching a lot of TV. For however many hours of TV you watching, spend that much time in the Word. Spend that much time in the presence of God. Spend that much time, you know, in worship and praise and listening to anointed music so that you won't be overwhelmed with the media. Okay, I love you. Shout out to Rita McClendon. I love you. Okay. Love you all. God bless.